Alright, today I'm running new power cables for my grabs inside my boat. Last year I ran some power cables for that, but I used some 14 gauge cable, which it works fine, that's efficient, but I want to step it up to 10 gauge today. I think it'll give it a little bit more power during the day. When the batteries start to wear down, it still will give it the power that it needs. I had a couple of problems with my front unit last year, not reading the maps and all that type thing. So I'm gonna upgrade my power cable today with some, like I said, 10 gauge wire, and I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna do it. The first thing you want to do when you're trying to run cable by yourself on these little spools is get your piece of conduit or some kind of pole stick or something that'll fit inside the holes of the rolls here. What I like to do, like I said, this is a piece of 3/4 inch EMT conduit, because I run cable for a living, so I know these little tricks, and hopefully they'll help you guys out. Like I said, I just slide the roll on. Just make sure that you can find where the beginning of the cable starts and which way you want to roll it off. Make sure you put that direction, because you don't want it to roll off on the bottom. I mean, it works, but I like to roll my stuff off the top, and you can do the same thing with the other one. Just slide it on and find you something that'll hold this conduit. And I just got 2 blocks that I had out here in the yard. Just gonna put this conduit between these blocks like this, and now you got your ready-made cable tray that you can roll off this cable by yourself. You don't need a partner with you, that type thing. And like I said, it'll keep everything in place. You don't have to fight with a spool on the ground. So now that we got this set up, well, we're gonna try to go ahead and get our length of our cables. I'm gonna show you what I want to try to do. Okay, now that we got our two power cables, our power and our ground, on a spool, what I like to do is just get some tape. Just tape them together. That way I know they in pairs, because everything takes a power and a ground. And what I like to do, I got them the spools here on the back of the boat, and I'm just going to walk to the front of the boat to try to get my length, my guesstimated length, before I can come back and cut them off and label them for where I want them to be. So I'm just going to I know that's a good length. It's got plenty extra on it. So I'm just going to get my cutters and cut it off back here in the back, and we'll go from there. Okay, now I cut it off. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to tie them together so they don't be flopping everywhere here. Now that I got them, this is the back end. Like I said, I got the front end up in the front. So next thing I want to do, you want to get some tape, like some white tape or some kind of vanilla tape, or something that sticks pretty good, but you can write on. Because I'm going to take a piece of this off, get my Sharpie, and write on each power cable where I want it to, go for, like the front unit, the back unit, my Garmin, that type thing. I want to label it for when I finish running everything and I got everything inside the boat. I can just look at it and say, okay, this goes to my front unit. Okay, this one goes to my Garmin. So that's what I want to do. So I'm just gonna, like I said, pull off me two pieces of tape here. Come back on side the power cable. I like try to get them even, and just push them together. That way I got a real good hold on that. If I just did it a little bit on the top and roll around just a little bit, it'll come off when I run it through this boat. So make sure you put it double up and stick it to itself, because that way it's not going to come off. And like I said, this one's going to be my front unit. All I want to do is just put front on there. That way I know I want to do both of them. And now I got that label with front, and just give it a, with this permanent Sharpie, in about 2-3 minutes it'll be dry that you can touch it. It won't rub off. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the front. And like I said, I got my Lowrance unit up front, my 12 touch, and I got my Garmin up there, and I got the live scope box that needs power. So I'm gonna run 3 sets of 2 up to the front. So I'm gonna do this 3 times, well, 2 more times, and the other power gonna go to the back unit here. So I'm gonna have to just run it to the console. So let me do that, then I'll come back and we'll go from there. Alright, as you can see up in front of the boat, this is my Garmin power cable. This is my live scope power cable. The reason I know, because I got them labeled from last time. If you didn't label them, you wouldn't know what was what. You'd spend minutes, 30 minutes or so, trying to figure out what wiring is what. And this is my Lowrance, because I got an L on it. So this is the power cables for that. See, if you see up here in the front, if you look down in there, you see all those cables. If you didn't label them, it'd be a nightmare trying to figure out what cable goes to what. So make sure you label the cables on both ends, the front and the back. So like I said, this is the 14 gauge cable that I ran last year for these units. It works, but I just think a higher grade gauge cable would work even better, giving it more consistent power coming from the back. Like I said, this boat is 20 foot 6 inches long, so I don't know the resistance drop from back there to up here, but I want to try to make it just better than I have in the past. So I'm running the 10 gauge, but I just want to show you here in the front where I got everything and why I got it labeled. So now what I'm gonna do is let me show you, see if I can show you here. I don't know if you see it, but here you see all these cables come out of this conduit. This is the conduit that runs to the back, where all the cables come from the back up to the front. So you only have, that's probably only an inch conduit, and you only have that amount of space in there. So I'm gonna pull these old power cables out before I run the new ones. And like I said, I already got a pull string in here from running it last time. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna hook that up, and that's the key to running cable in your boat, this pull string here. All right, now that I got all the power cables pulled back from the front, and the ground cables also, I'm gonna leave this green cable. This green cable is the ground for my live scope up in the front, which is okay at 14 gauge, and this is the power cable for the back unit. I'm gonna use that as a pull string, so I'm gonna leave that in for right now, but the rest of the cables, like I said, you can use them for something else if you need to, but right now they got it here. Okay, the first thing you want to do is get your new pull string tied to the old pull string. The best knot I've found over the years is just what they call a surgeon's knot. It's basically just a overhand knot that you pull both of them together, and that knot doesn't come loose. So, but you want to try to make it as small as possible. Like I said, this is some big pull string, so you want to just if I can find my tape, I'm gonna tape that. Well, let me get the tape first. Okay, first thing you want to do is, like I said, you want to tape this knot down to make it small as possible. And like I said, I just get tape, and it helps for making sure that knot doesn't come loose. So I just like to tape the the tail down all the way to the end. In case you have to pull this back, that tail won't catch and prevent you from pulling it back. So like I said, right there, it's nice and streamlined, and it make for a nice pull. So I'm gonna get my new power cables, and what I want to do is just right from the start, I just want to stagger them. Don't put them all the head all together like this. That'd be fine if you had an open conduit, nothing is in it. But when you got cable in it, you want to try to stagger them to make it easier pull. I mean, down here, all of them's going to be, you know, the same size, but to get it to run through other cable and snake its way through there, you need it staggered. So once you get it staggered, you just, and don't worry about taping over the labels, they'll be fine. Like I said, you just want them to survive. If you have to relabel them, but you want it nice and tight because you don't want that to come loose halfway down the boat. And at the end, try to make a point much as possible. Because if you don't, that end will catch on all this cable that's in there and make it more difficult. So don't worry about using tape. Tape is cheap. Okay, so we got a point on that, much as I can get it. I'm gonna put some more tape here. Like I said, that's the worst thing when you're running cable, to have the cable come loose halfway in the middle of the run. So I'm just gonna tape it some more down here toward the end, and I'm gonna tape over the labels just to keep them from getting pulled off. Okay, now we got that ready to go. We're gonna basically do the same thing here. Like I said, this part is what's going in the boat, so we want the point of the cable going down in there. You don't want to have it like that. That way it'll pull backwards, which you'll never get through there. So we want to go a little bit past the knot that we did, and just like I said, we're going to tape a good portion of this, at least 4 or 5 inches of it, just to make sure that it's not going to come loose. Like I said, you want this super tight. Tight as you can get it. Like I said, you always want to try to make a point toward the end, so go down the tape some, the pull string some, and come back up the power cable. So right there, I'm confident that this won't come loose. And make sure you got your new power cables pulled out straight, so it doesn't grab or catch on anything once you're pulling it. I just want to make sure that this cable is going down in that conduit. I might have to get up on the boat, and the other thing is, the cables that you left in here, make sure you tie them down to something so they won't pull back through there. Once you pull in this new cable, it won't pull with it. Just tie them in a knot on something that'll hold it from moving. Like I said, I'm just trying to stick my arm in there, make sure that the new power cables are going in the conduit and not getting hung up on the front of the conduit. And I'm gonna pull these cables to this side of my boat for to have a more straighter path through that conduit. Trying to keep them straight. I'm doing a constant check on these to make sure they not getting caught on anything. So it's got a nice pull to it, so you're gonna have to really pull it and just listen and make sure it's not catching on anything. Like I said, I got it here in the front. I'm just gonna check, see how much slack is in the back before I don't pull too much up here. Okay, my guesstimate was pretty good. Like I said, I got about, I'd say, 1.5 feet up here in the front, which is good to work anywhere in this hole up here. And on the back, I have probably 2 feet, 2.5 foot of cable to work with, so that's good. I can go anywhere I want to on the back here. What I want to try to do is put this little fuse box here somewhere in the back to be able to hook these cables up and put fuses in them, that type thing, trying to protect the units. So but we're gonna go ahead and get these cables probably terminated and see if we can put, like I said, put some ends on them. And then again, like I said, I still got a pull string inside that conduit for if I had to pull one more cable for something else I add up here in the front or anything like that. Alright guys, I wanted to show you what kind of connection I was using. Like I said, I'm using the crimp with the watertight shrink wrap on it. I tried to use, I got a couple more different ones over here. The one with the solder in the middle of it and all that good stuff, but they just didn't work good for me. So I went back to the old school, the ones I've been using forever. Like I said, you crimp the cable in the middle, and you just use a heat source to shrink wrap the coating over top of it and make it watertight, and you're done. So that is much easier. And I did the pull test on it before doing this, putting the heat on it, make sure it doesn't come apart. So I got all the connections done here in the front for all 3 of my units, and I guess I'm gonna go back in the back and put some circle connectors. I don't know exactly what you call them, but the ones that got these little ends on them that you can put over top of a connector, or a screw or something like that. Alright guys, I'm buttoning up the back here. Like I said, I put these terminals on it that'll fit here inside this new little fuse box I got. So that's why I chose the size that I did choose. Like I said, I got the little kit here that has all different kinds in it, and I'm just, like I said, just heating up the shrink wrap around it, and I'll be done with the cable installations here. Okay, so like I said, I got all the cables back here in the back. The only cable I hadn't ran was the one for the back unit for the console, but I'll do that here in a little while. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. But other than that, like I said, this little kit came in handy. I'll put that link down in the description. And this fuse box, I think, is going to be a good thing for me too. So, and the cable, like I said, 10 gauge cable from 14 to 10. I'll put that link in the description too. But other than that, guys, I think that's about it. Hope you liked the video. Hope you get something out of it. And like I said, a lot of people run new cables in their boat, so you need to know how to get it to where the easier way. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna stop rambling, and I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. And yeah, make sure you subscribe too if you haven't.